Contingency Plan Podcast. My name is David, and Austin's back, I guess.
Hello, everyone. I'm out of the basement, finally.
Okay. I mean, you can go back down there in the crawl space if you really want to.
Yeah, it's dark like the dark side.
Nah, he's too busy, ruining his life. Trying to get married and so forth.
Sorry.
Took him out. He couldn't make decisions.
It wasn't my job.
He just real veiled. Hey, we could do this. Hey, we could. And then we walked around a lot trying to find something to drink. That was fun.
I blame COVID for that.
Yeah, capacity limits. It's real good. So anyway, we've got a couple of other people here. Friends.
People's a strong word.
Friends of his. Friends?
That's what you call us?
Oh, my God, there's another one.
I have a friend.
A friend. Well, you have at least 3 friends, so that's good. That's solid. How about
No, give it to him. Let him talk.
How about friends say hi?
I'd like to think I'm your friend too, David.
Okay, that's debatable. You owe me one Pink Floyd Animals record.
That is for sure, after scratching it and screeching it all night long last night.
No, I think it's okay. So, one more.
Hello, everybody. I can be polite.
That's debatable, for sure.
We all know Jason can't be polite, especially if it involves a McDonald's drive-thru worker.
Or Jonah and the boys.
Oh,
Yes.
Goodness. Yeah. We went out to breakfast this morning, and our waitress, who was super nice, apparently recognized us from last week, even
Which is
though
amazing.
Even though none of you had ever been there aside from myself.
Not once.
And yeah, we had a nice joke just to keep that going and further confuse her. So
See, I almost feel like she was just doing the little fake act. Like, oh, yeah, I remember you from last time. Yeah, how you doing? Tip me more, please.
I mean, there's a lot of tricks of the trade. I mean, sometimes you just got to make the tips, man.
She did. We were
tips.
very generous.
Very generous.
Or so you think.
Maybe, I don't know.
Most of us were, except for you.
You could totally get that close to your face, by the way.
Like really close?
Yeah.
Is this close enough?
That's
Like no
pretty
one
good.
can understand you.
Now you can?
I can
Maybe.
hear you now.
I'm just kidding.
It's good.
Anyways,
You look so awkward.
I know. I'm holding this mic in my hand. I just look weird. You guys are all looking
No,
at me
you-
when I'm
you
talking.
look
My
like you
face
feel
gets
weird.
red.
You just need to price is right it, just
Price
like
is
old,
right.
Like old Bob
Like
Barker.
Bob Barker. Was it Wayne Brady that took over?
Jim
Or was
Carrey.
it Jim Carrey.
Jim
Did he
Carrey.
retire yet?
Did he retire yet?
He will never retire.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Bob did it for freaking ever anyway, so.
Good old
Well,
Bob.
let's go ahead and apparently Austin wanted to bring these guys on here to talk about Star Wars or something, so
I thought we were going to talk about something else.
like what?
I thought this was a Star Wars podcast.
I thought it was going to be Star Trek today.
Star Trek?
Star Trek. Ain't no Trekkies in here, hardly.
Jean-Luc Picard. Yep. It's good times.
He's all right.
Everybody's wearing Star Trek shirts too, so
Son of a gun.
works.
Wrong day.
Yeah.
No. So anyway, what did you bring these guys on for, man? What were your questions? Question them, co-host.
I planned this out so well.
You did. You planned it
Let's
out
see.
real good.
As well as you planned out last night.
It wasn't my job to plan out last night, but that's fine. Yeah, nobody heard you. It's great.
It's fun.
Make your little jabs.
So anyway, we've gotten through the Skywalker saga, right? So we've had these movies, we have animated stuff, and we have potentially other stuff later.
And we got the Mando.
Well, yeah, Mandalorian, and depending on COVID and everything, eventually there will be more TV series stuff. Kenobi, the Cassian Andor series. What else was there?
Are they still talking about doing Boba?
No, I mean, I don't think there's anything Boba Fett. I mean, he might be in the Mandalorian along with like everyone else who's
Ahsoka and
supposed to be in
whatnot.
there.
Yeah.
Were they still talking about doing the Old Republic movies?
Well, that
It's fizzling out a bit.
see that originally that was all coming through with the dudes from Game of Thrones, and then
They were going to get a trilogy.
yeah they signed up, and then they got a better, more lucrative deal from Netflix to do something that they haven't done yet either. So, but I don't know. Eventually, Old Republic would be sweet.
Yeah.
But how about just to start? What got you into Star Wars? When did that kind of become a part of your life?
I got into Star Wars. Obviously, my dad got me into Star Wars and watched the original trilogy right before the new ones came out, Episode 1 through 3. Before those came out in theaters, I watched the original one and got familiar with them, and then the rest is history, obviously. But Star Wars is just it's just been one of those movie sagas that we've all kind of looked up to. We've talked about all the time. So I know it's just something. It's a great movie. They all are, but
Just one.
yeah, they all. I mean, they all are. But the original one, and then you got the new series is pretty good too now. But what really got me into them though was probably that episodes 1 through 3, and then the newer ones were really good too. But to be honest, yeah, the original ones like the Phantom Menace and stuff.
So what was your what's your favorite though? Like if you had to pick one, you're trapped in a room for the rest of your life. You had to pick one of them to watch for eternity. What would it be?
That is such a very, very hard question, but
You should have been thinking of an answer.
oh man, honestly,
I like
my
how
answer.
he was giving you all this crap about like, oh, they can't hear you, and Austin's still talking.
I know
but
he's
not
still
with
trying
a
to give me
mic.
crap.
I'm just interacting with him.
No, probably my favorite one though was probably going to be I honestly can't even answer that, but it's probably going to be The Force Awakens, just because it really reminded me a lot of A New Hope
Yeah,
with the storyline, the characters, and then like the character development was just it was really good. To me, I thought it was really well done. I know a lot of people disagreed with that and like character choices and stuff, but I thought it was really well done. And then just the story of Rey and Finn, and
And
it
I
just
think-
reminded me of the original ones, and then the story of those guys.
I think for the two of us, it kind of got us back into Star Wars as well. We went to see it in
Yeah,
the movie theater.
yeah, we went and
together,
seen that in
and,
the theaters together. Yeah,
I was pretty burnt out on Star Wars at that point for a few years. I don't
Right.
know if you were, but I really
I mean,
wasn't
yeah, I
consuming
wasn't really into
content.
it at that time, but yeah, once it came back with The Force Awakens, that's kind of why I think I chose that as my favorite, because it kind of really revived me back into it. And then, yeah, the last two movies that came out, like everybody, they may have trashed them, but to me, I thought they were phenomenal.
there are a lot of people though that like, I mean, because me being a little older, 99, I was either 11 or 12. And that's when Episode 1 came out. So the prequels were always some of my favorites because, again, I was a kid during those movies. And there was one, like, I don't know, live podcast thing I went to in Cleveland at one point when Solo dropped, and they had a couple of younger kids go up there, like, 12, 13-year-old at that time. And that was after... So again, it was when Solo dropped. So Last Jedi had obviously dropped previously, and they were asking these younger kids. They said, "All right, so what's your favorite movie?" And all of them that were up there, they all said The Last Jedi. And again, I think it just has to do with you at the time, what comes out, what's new, and I don't know. I think Force Awakens is actually a really good movie. Maybe not exactly the path I would have taken through the other ones, but I mean, I can still appreciate them. But there is a lot of hate. You just don't go on Twitter.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. But one more thing to add, like quote-wise, my favorite quotes from all of the movies was when Han Solo was told by Leia, she's like, "I love you," and he answers with, "I know."
Yeah.
That was the most...
Yeah.
That was one of the best things ever. But I just had to throw that in there real quick.
That's
I
good.
think we all have a set of pillows that say that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And
I know I do.
And just mentioning Han real quick, I'll also ask this because you kind of enjoyed the newer ones. So Rise of Skywalker, Ben's stabbed and then revived, and then he has his little chat with Han, like Ghost Han. What did you think about that?
I'm honestly glad they put it in the movie, just because I really wanted to see that. But I mean, I don't know. It kind of threw me off the whole time, like, because when in Force Awakens, when he's stabbed by Ren, like that was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
say
you're
that.
good.
But
Don't worry about it.
I think
and-
we all said that though. Truthfully.
and it was just like one of those moments, like, are you kidding me? Like, because growing up, Han was everybody liked Luke. They
Yeah.
loved the Jedi, but me, I liked Han. Han was my
Same.
he was the one that could figure out everything, whereas Luke was just walking through a freaking blindly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Han already knew what he was doing.
targeting
so-
computers off, you might say.
Yeah, I guess you could say.
Stay on target. It impacted on the surface. No, I mean, I do ask people that, and the only reason I do is obviously in the whole realm of Star Wars, you have Force Ghosts, right?
Right.
But Han wasn't a Force user.
I
but
get-
the whole,
yeah.
the whole thing. I thought it was really cool just to have the recreation of the scene where, he stabs him, and this time he makes another choice.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty good. But, and again, the Force is within that family, though, in a little bit, I guess you could say, but not really with Han.
Yeah.
But maybe it was kind of like a combination between, Leia. And her powers from
Yeah,
being there. And
right.
then maybe she was able to help Han in a way to
Yeah.
see Ren.
And
And because to me, ultimately, Leia was like the one thing that kind of brought Ren back with Rey's help. And Leia basically planted all that seed
Yeah.
into that. And then you find out that she also had somewhat Force powers, but not as obviously. Well, we obviously don't know, and we will never know really how powerful she could have been. But
Yeah.
she could have very well had something to do with Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that kind of was the explanation that she brought about that whole deal, and I guess the movie didn't really explain that as well as it probably should have. You want to. There's a lot of emphasis now on like strong female characters, which is good.
Yeah,
but
it's
the whole
great.
thing is like she was a strong female character in the 70s.
Oh yeah.
And obviously they were limited because she died. Carrie Fisher passed away before Rise
Right.
even happened, and they only had so much that they could do. But there again, you also had Dominic Monaghan, who played. Does anybody remember his name from the movie? No, because I don't think they even said his name. But he was like supposed to be this whole lore master. You know what I mean? He was telling Rey about how to find all this stuff. But the thing is that you don't even really know. And then of course the whole Rose thing, and
Right.
how she is important, but it wasn't really translated in the movie. So there are gripes, but I don't know. Rise did a lot of fan service that if you really look into stuff and get like nerdy about it, it is kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, well, you got a mic in your hand. How about same thing? What got you into Star Wars, and what would be your favorite movie, desert island scenario?
Well, I watched the original trilogy a few times growing up, and then when the prequels came out, I didn't watch them. Not till a few years ago, once they started doing the spin-offs with Rogue One and the new trilogy. Then I started to watch the prequels. That's when I started to get really into it. It was kind of nice having something new. Now, as far as one movie to watch for the rest of my life, I don't know.
It's kind of a tough question.
It's difficult. I think that I would choose Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
Yes, that fight scene. Sorry, I didn't mean to butt in,
Yes.
but that fight scene
Yeah.
between Anakin and Obi. Oh man,
Yep,
that
that's-
was. I'm getting chills just talking about it right now.
That battle on Mustafar is, it's epic. And then it goes to show, I just like it because it's a background into Vader.
Right.
And that's where you really see Anakin turn into Vader.
Yeah.
and what happened, and then Luke and Leia coming about for the original trilogy. So, I mean, the biggest issue with those is they probably could have had a little bit better storytelling in them,
Sure.
but I still thought it was great.
Now, do you read comics at all?
I don't. I'd
Okay.
like to, but
So if I were to make a recommendation, if you're really into the backstory of Vader, it was the 2019 Vader comic from Charles Soule, I think the one who was involved in that. That has a lot of really cool stuff in there. More specifically, what happened directly after he became Vader. Like fresh out of his suit and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And finding his new kyber crystal for his new saber and everything and breaking that. And if you want me to spoil something because it is a few years old.
oh, that's fine.
Well, there's one part, and it's the reason why I love it so much, is there was a moment, the kyber crystal is living. It's a living crystal. So it fights back when a Sith tries to break it and crack it. So it gave him a vision of something that he could have done. So the whole next panel is him going back to Palpatine, and he ignites his saber, and I want to say it's green because that was a crystal. So a green saber, and then he kills Palpatine, and then he finds Obi-Wan on Tatooine and like repents and sort of like help me.
Yeah.
But then, of course, he breaks it, and then he becomes Vader, and it's like he fights back on the vision. So that was really cool. And then they have another called The Dark Heart of the Sith, which is on issue 4. I think issue 5 drops next month, or I believe. This one is interesting because he is now backtracking. It's post episode 5. So post episode 5, and he is trying to figure out more about Luke and how to rid Luke of the things that make him, in his mind, weak to turn him to the dark side.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so he actually encounters some of Padme's handmaidens, and he gets super confused because it's like when he first sees, and it was Sabe, who, look, obviously the handmaidens all look like Padme, little differences and so forth.
Yeah.
He's like, Padme? And then it's like, obviously it wasn't. It's an interesting John into, and right now he currently is at Padme's tomb. So going back on all that stuff is interesting, but Vader's an interesting character, and obviously in the original series he was just the big bad guy.
Yeah.
And now with the prequels and then subsequently stuff that's coming out, now you get to flesh him out. So
yeah, you
it's an
kind of
interesting
get to
series.
see, you get to see a more human side to him and see that there's more to him than just being the big bad.
Yeah.
So it makes him a lot more likable in that aspect too, in my opinion.
Now, I'll also throw this by you too. So you said episode 3, like the saber combat, and that kind of was the pinnacle of saber combat, right?
Yes.
The prequels,
Yes.
because
Oh, yeah.
they're trained Jedi.
Yep.
So then, what are your thoughts on like the sequel trilogy saber combat? Because again, like they're not really trained like they were, but what do you think of some of the fight scenes that they had in the newer?
Now, I have yet to finish episode 9. I started it one day at work. While we were still shut down, we were moving. So I got to catch bits and pieces. But from the first 2 out of the new trilogy, it just felt to me like they were forcing a lot on you. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially with Rey. Yeah, it was sloppy,
I
Rey,
think the reason why it was so sloppy, though, if you think about it,
Palpatine's
they never
granddaughter.
touched a lightsaber, so they need to look
Yeah.
like they're sloppy with a lightsaber.
But
So if you make the
I
movie,
but what I'm saying,
yeah, but
though,
if you make Kylo is a lot, but they make him look a little bit better, and then they portray that a lot.
Well, but then, just to break in real quick though, so Kylo, he would have been trained by Luke up to a point,
Right.
But past that, Snoke never had a lightsaber.
Yeah, he never did.
So
I know that. I mean,
Snoke's
but like
not
what you
furthering
say,
that combat.
but that's the thing. Like you can't have they obviously aren't going to be fighting like Anakin and
Obi.
Obi when it's Rey who barely ever touched one. She just got her lightsaber. Like in Force Awakens, when she gets it, like her first time she has it, like she knows how to hold it a little bit. But that's because she has force powers. But then Finn didn't really know how to use it. But I mean, he's got some kind of training from, he's got baton training, so he knew kind of what to do. But if you made that movie and you made them all experts at lightsabers right off the bat, then it's crap because they're not really making it authentic. And that's what I thought they kind of did a good job at making it more authentic than just being like, yeah, these guys are already good with a lightsaber before like making them, look like, you'd say shit with a lightsaber, but because they never really touch one.
Well, yeah, but I think what they tried to do is they tried to force powers way too quickly in the new trilogy. I mean, she all of a sudden, with Rey,
But again, she was Palpatine's daughter, so she is pretty powerful, though.
Granddaughter.
Granddaughter, that's what I meant. That's,
I
let's say she was created by some kind of force.
Some sort
she
of
was
thing,
created by the force. Let's just say that. So therefore, she is pretty powerful.
Yeah, even and as far as we know, Anakin was too, and he still needed training. But she all of a sudden can use all these force powers without training, and she's so powerful. If you have no idea what you're doing, which she would have, you're not going to be that powerful right off the bat. And I think it's a good idea that they added another strong female lead. Mm-hmm. I just think they tried to force it too fast. Now, I still enjoyed the movies, but I think they tried to force her as a strong female lead too quickly. It was sloppy.
And then the other thing though too is that so we did get in a small way that she was trained by Leia, who we then got a very small snippet of her being trained by Luke. So at least in the Rise, we figure out that she does now have some training. But then the interesting thing is at that point, once they finally get to the ruins of the Death Star and they're fighting, she like tires. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And is trying to switch stances and do all this stuff. So it's like it was explored a bit in the comics too, where she felt like she wasn't able to tap into her full potential, and you kind of see that a little bit at the beginning of Rise. It's like I'm not ready. So instead of, letting go, kind of like Yoda always tried to teach Luke, let go, let the Force flow through you, do or do not, there's no try type of deal. She actually encountered a lot of the same roadblocks, which whatever I might think of like the Jedi Council, at least at that point, they did have a more uniformed way of teaching you.
Yeah, and that's what, with the new one, there wasn't much. But, in the first two movies, she really had, really limited training with anybody that
she looked like Luke in the original when he first touched the lightsaber.
Well, he didn't know what he was doing. Still had some training from Obi-Wan and then Yoda at least.
I just think it's interesting that like the original movies, like the lightsaber battles were more like fencing, and then you get into the prequel trilogy, and it's more of it's like you got all this like you can jump around, they're doing crazy stuff, and then you get into The Force Awakens where it's not, it's somewhere in between, which that to me I think is kind of cool. That shows you the difference of like where the fight, like, because like you said, when you have a council, you have the Jedi Temple set up, and you have their training where it's somewhat they're actually trained from little kids on. Yeah. You're going to be able to do these acrobatic moves because you're more one with the Force, whereas Luke never had that. And the same thing with Rey. Yeah. She never had that. So they to put them in the shoes of, like, say, Obi-Wan or Anakin, they never had that training. They can't be that good. Yeah. You can't expect that from them.
But I will say, though, one thing in defense of the original series saber fights, maybe not so much the original like Obi-Wan Vader fight, because that was definitely just swirling around the stick.
Pretty much. Yeah.
But
it was also two old men doing it. So
no, I get that. But once you get into 5 and then the last Vader fight in 6, it felt a lot more impactful because they were playing on emotions much more. Whereas in the prequels, you're supposed to not necessarily have the emotional attachment to it. But when Luke is sitting there, like literally, like hacking at Vader, and he's just, just over and over, like beating, like almost just with like a blunt object, I thought that was a little bit more impact, or at least it felt more impactful to me because you see so much more of the emotion.
You see literally the pinnacle of the light side of the Force almost lose his way in that moment.
Right. Which you see that with Rey too, and a couple of times with
Yeah.
Rey, where it looks
Well,
like
when she slashes Ren's face.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, Tyler, you want to get in on this too?
I know he's just been sitting there just looking at us like, "What's up?"
Grab a.
In depth with the conversation.
No, it's fine. Grab in and just again, like when you
is
when
this
you,
cl-
when you got in and what again, desert island movie scenario.
All right. Well, definitely got started at my cousin's house, probably around when I was 5 years old. I just remember sitting down in the basement one winter, wood burner was going, and the TV's up above the mantle, starting with A New Hope. I probably have to say A New Hope was my favorite movie. It's just it's that one I started on, and if I ever go
Too
to
many
throw,
memories attached to it.
yeah, I still have my original VHSs, and actually the original one I had, that tape's all messed up, so I had to buy another set just so I can have another New Hope.
But do you have a VHS player?
Yes, I do, and
Okay.
that's the only reason I
You're
have a
the only one
VHS
out
player.
of all the three of us
yeah.
that have those collections that can actually watch them.
Well, the only reason I have a VHS player is literally to watch
Yeah.
those movies. So I just a lot of. I mean, I just go to throw. When I throw one in, it's always A New Hope.
Yeah.
I know it's an unpopular opinion, but Solo is probably a second favorite.
Oh no, Solo is actually one of my favorites as well.
I thought it was.
Solo was perfectly done in my opinion.
If you just base solely, lore, I liked it too, but purely cinematics, it was just a great movie. It
Yeah.
kept you
It was a
entertained the
fun
whole
ride.
time.
Well, and the
Yeah.
the thing about Solo is you, it almost really didn't wind up being what it was. I mean, they went through I know
They
one director.
rewrote
but
the
I
entire
I feel like it was
story.
maybe two directors, but then obviously settling on Ron Howard, and that brought it all together. Some of the deleted scenes for Solo. There was one, the barrel of eels. So they were trying to escape, in the early. So him and Kira dive into a barrel of eels, and we're sitting there watching because I remember I bought it. And we were watching. It's like I bet they're gonna make a. Oh, is that a roll of quarters in your pocket, or you're just excited to see
they
me
do.
type of joke, and they do. They make some weird eel joke. I was like, ooh woo, man, go ahead and get your freaking anime going on that one. But yeah, Solo in its completed form, I really liked, and Alden Ehrenreich, who played Solo, I thought he did a really, really good job of portraying the character.
Which would be an extremely difficult job.
Well, Harrison Ford is Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
The other, bringing Woody Harrelson in on
Yeah.
a Star Wars movie,
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome too.
He was awesome, and like again, you harken back, despite the fact that it's changed 6 ways from Sunday. You do see the original Han definitely shot first.
Yeah,
So
And we got a really good Lando out of it too.
yeah, Donald Glover did a good. Oh, that's another one that they're
Yeah, we're
talking
gonna do a show about that, yeah.
potentially having
And
having
it's
a
actually
Lando
good.
series.
It's going to be in the same format as Dr. Afra
I mean,
being recorded in his ship.
yeah, we'll see.
interested.
I mean, we'll see if it happens. I don't know if that was confirmed, but I think it'd be interesting at the very least.
Yeah.
Was that it? Did you have any? Did
yeah,
did you have any more?
that's it. Not a talker like the others here. But.
Well, I mean, New Hope is probably, if you had any one, New Hope is the most closed because obviously Lucas didn't know if he was going to be able to make
Yeah.
any more movies.
It's a complete movie.
So
It's a standalone movie. You had your big baddie die at the end, and I mean, no one really thinks of Tarkin as the original antagonist.
Well,
but
I mean-
he truly was one of the best.
but he was great. So let me then ask you this: if Star Wars ended at A New Hope and we never got any more, like what would be your thought on that?
I would still own the VHS just to watch that movie.
I think it would be the most cult classic movie there possibly could be because people would rage for more. Yeah.
Yeah, coming from the peanut gallery because he doesn't have a mic, but yeah, like Firefly.
Yeah.
No,
exactly like Firefly. If
Yeah.
we did a podcast on that, I could go for days on Serenity and the Firefly ship and how one season was just not enough. And that movie they made called Serenity. Sorry for getting off topic again, but
We do that
but
a lot.
It deserves like some praise because it does have a lot of the like the spaceship and stuff like that with like the Star Wars, but obviously not on the same level as Star Wars
Yeah.
because it's more true to like Earth and not having all the force powers and stuff like that,
Well,
or
I mean,
any
that-
kind
that-
of magic and
That's
space
the
wizards.
fickle nature of television, though. Which, you know, when you start thinking about Disney Plus, so Kenobi is going to be one season, which is fine because I mean, how
I
much
think
can
you can
How
do-
much can you even
You
pack
can really
into
pack that story
Yeah.
into a scene.
But like the Mandalorian is definitely at least going to be 3 seasons. We have season 2 already done. It's supposed to drop maybe one day, and then 3 would have to get done up. Have any of you really watched Mandalorian at all?
I still have like maybe 1 or 2 episodes left to go on that one.
You're missing out on the best
I've been
episodes.
really taking my time with that one.
What
though.
we'll go around? What are your thoughts on Mandalorian?
I actually do enjoy watching it literally from the beginning, from like literally the beginning scene to the whole like the baby Yoda stuff. Like let's not he's adorable, but and again it's a Yoda, like it's awesome. It's you never see
A
any.
Yoda.
It's a Yoda.
Well, his species.
Yeah.
You never
Or a Yaddle.
see. You
Maybe it's
never
a
see
Yaddle.
any other of his species other than
Right.
when you're playing the Old Republic and the original Council had one of his kind. But
Yaddle. Yep.
like you've never seen it before, and then it's just cool. And then the fact that you get to dive more into the culture of the bounty hunting side of things and how they do things, and with like how they have to like get their the like what is it, the steel that they get or whatever.
Best car.
Yeah, the best car.
Getting that and then like creating armor out of it and everything like that, and then the whole like the
Rite
whole
of
branding
passage,
thing and the rite of
essentially.
passage. Yeah, it's been cool. It's been awesome. It's been a fun ride so far.
Mandalorian lore is truly something that could be completely standalone from Star Wars.
Exactly,
And be its
yeah.
own movie or
Yeah.
TV series.
Well,
it is
it's
massive.
varied because if you read in the Old Republic books, you had Mandalore and the Helm of Mandalore, and if you held the Helm of Mandalore, you were Mandalore, which meant you ruled all the Mandalorians. And then you had the cartoon series where you had
the Black Saber.
well,
Dark Saber.
well, no, I mean you had a Mandalorian planet,
Yeah.
full of Mandalorians that took their helmets off whenever the hell they felt like it,
Yeah.
and
And
it
they
didn't
rode
matter.
serpents, and it was great.
Yeah, well, that was in the
Mechanical
Old Republic.
Yes.
But then now you have a group where this is the way we don't take our helmets off in front of people, and very different
Almost
form.
Master Chief like.
Yeah. So it's obviously a very different thing as well. But for me, I like the Wild West feel of it because
Yeah,
I grew up
that's-
watching old westerns
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff, and that's kind of what I appreciate. But go ahead.
Yeah, so far I've thoroughly enjoyed The Mandalorian from the first episode to the last. It's nice to delve into some different kind of lore within the Star Wars universe. So it is nice to get some different stories in there, and as was said earlier, it could be its own standalone too. I just think it's great that you see this bounty hunter's pretty badass and get attached to, as they're calling it in the show, the child. Mm-hmm. But, us that aren't uncultured swine know it as Baby Yoda. So it's nice to see somebody that's, it's just a job. You do what you do, you forget about it. Then he comes back to get this child to take care of it for whatever reason. And it's kind of great to see.
The Force.
Yeah, and it's great to see Baby Yoda use some Force powers. You see it,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah, that right. What was that? Like the second episode in,
Yes,
and you got him floating this rhino
This
as he's
big
like
ol' rhino,
helping the
yeah.
Mandalorian out. Like that was just come on, it's epic.
he's doing all this to help out Mando, and you see the attachment that those two have to one another, and the fact that it's just different Star Wars lore. Mm-hmm. I enjoy it, and I can't wait for the next season. Honestly.
And Tyler, you said you hadn't watched it. Okay.
So we're not
You
even
don't
gonna
get to
hand
talk
him a
anymore
mic.
then.
Well, then let's throw another question out there. So aside from what we've got, what we have in the past, and what there's planned, what would everybody like to see come out next? Like, what would be the big thing that everybody would want to see?
Something brand new that we know nothing about.
Yeah. Make up your own series or movie or whatever.
Within the Star Wars.
I
Yep.
mean, I think you can probably guess what I want to see.
I think I would
More
call
Jar
it.
Jar Binks, the animated series.
We'll let them go first.
Misa's adventures.
This is gonna be a dumb
There from the beginning.
What was the race that created the clones?
The Caminoans.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to honestly, I'd like for them to do. I know it's kind of played out, and I talked about it earlier with the prequels, but I'd like to see more of Vader before the Rebels.
Okay.
You know, I'd like to see what did he do in that time. You know, the
Kind of
training.
what he was explaining in the comics, maybe.
Yeah, something
maybe
like
bring that to an actual series.
You know, I'd like to see something like he goes from having limbs to losing half of them. He's
Black Knight.
yeah, he's in this machine that that keeps him alive. It's like how and what type of training, the psychological aspect.
So like POV Vader.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd kind of like to see something like what did he go through to adjust to that, and how was he mentally and physically before we got into the original trilogies.
Yeah, and there's a lot of exploration in canon as to some of the stuff that Vader was into, but never necessarily POV aside from the two comics I mentioned. But you have to read. And that's the thing, it's not on screen because like the new Dr. Aphra audio drama, he's trying to figure out more about Luke. I think that's pre-episode 5. I don't remember the timeline now.
Sorry, just
breathing
flashbacks from listening to that.
But the thing is like him dealing with Aphra and his sort of ruthless nature. And then, there was the Thrawn, the middle Thrawn book, him doing missions with Admiral Thrawn. Well, not Admiral at that point, but so I think that would be interesting. I don't know how they would necessarily play it out because the thing is, Star Wars is so much about secrets. And some of that stuff just remains secrets. And as I'll butt in here before we'll go to the next, what I want is the time period in between Episode 6 and Force Awakens,
Which is huge.
Luke's story.
Yeah.
I just want that to be. You could do it in a movie, and I'd be perfectly fine. But like, tell me what he did during that time frame. Because it's the biggest open storybook that nobody's written about, nobody's done movies about.
Well, that's not true. We have about 17 books on it.
Well,
it's just not canon anymore.
It's just not canon. But the thing is like you just so yippee party with Ewoks, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, he's just on Octo.
Yeah.
Screw it. So that's what I'd like to see. What do you got?
Honestly, I'm still really want to see the Old Republic come to either a TV series, movie trilogy, or something, because it was such a great time to me in this whole Star Wars, because it was such a golden age of the Jedi Academy and the Sith and their academies,
Almost like a High Republic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But it was, to me, I find the story of like Darth Revan and Malik so intriguing and so good, and it was so well written in those video games. I know it was a video game, and just because that, like, I want to see more. I want to see more of that story, but in film.
Yeah, and obviously the game. Then you have Revan the book, which was his return to the light side after he had turned. Bane's storyline was very interesting. Gosh, I'm trying to. It's been a long time since.
Well, you
I read
have quite a
those,
few. You have Nihilus, who has a very interesting.
I just think that,
backstory.
like
You
with
got
the
quite
Old
a few,
Republic,
really.
there's just so much that you could delve into.
No, there is a lot. That's
Pick just one or two.
yeah.
Well,
It is hard to pick.
I'll just go ahead and jump in and kind of bandwagon, but I'd already planned it. I want Revan. I want a movie. See, I want a trilogy of
With
Revan.
Malik, I'd love to see. I would love to see those two fight each other on film.
Yeah.
Yes,
That would be
and
at their highest
see,
level of force power. You know what I'm saying?
But I also, at the same time, want to see their kinship before that, because they were.
That's what I'm saying.
practically
Could you
brothers
imagine
before
just
that.
starting?
It's literally Anakin
with-
and Obi-Wan's
yeah.
story all over again.
Exactly, but almost it's in a different light though. It's
Right.
Revan is probably the most interesting character in all of Star Wars lore when you think about it. What happened to him and what he accomplished compared to any other Jedi.
Well,
Is,
he defeated the Mandalorians.
Mm-hmm.
He became, a Sith. But the other thing too, the Revan book explores that so there was a Sith planet. They were a species before they were just Force wielders,
Right.
and there was a Sith Emperor who I don't know if I necessarily want to say it, but he might be more overpowered than Palpatine. Like,
Truthfully, he is.
I don't necessarily think that Palpatine, because Palpatine's power is in his manipulation and in his brain.
Yes.
Obviously, he can lightning you and whatever, and he can
But the
flip
Sith
around
Emperor
and kill
can-
Kit Fisto and all the, and goad Anakin into throwing mace out of a window.
But
But,
the
like-
Sith Emperor can literally turn you to the dark side just by being in his
and
presence.
that's the scary thing. So you have this entity who can just turn you. It's not even like
He can
persuasion.
create his own army
He
out of
forces you.
anyone.
And that story would be really interesting with a built-in OP bad guy. That I mean, I don't remember if they had any literature in the EU about defeating him yet, because the whole thing that ended with Revan is that he was
He didn't
put into stasis.
technically defeat him. So yeah.
He was basically, Revan and his friends were defeated, but he was put into stasis, and he still kind of, through his own power, influenced the Emperor throughout the rest of the. But anyway, I'd have to go back and think about it. But yeah, Old Republic's good. What about Tyler? What do you want to see?
I don't think you actually want to hear that. But okay, so has anybody watched that new Netflix series Space Force? Did you try it at all?
I haven't. No.
It's more of like a sitcom, but in a way, it tries to be serious at the same time. And I want to see something like that happen with like the Caminos and the clones,
Okay.
where just you see that whole backside. I mean, they built a whole army.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I just there has to be a backstory of trials and error through that and what happened in that process. And I
Yeah,
mean, that's
that would
something
be
you saw
interesting,
like real
actually.
quick, but you never. I mean, we got like what
You saw
10
the
minutes.
perfected art of cloning an army. You didn't see
Yeah.
everything that went
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, you didn't see the whole process. I mean, that had to take that didn't happen overnight.
Well,
There's a whole
Well,
backstory
the
to
Bad
that.
Batch is a good example
Yeah.
of that
Well, I
because
mean-
I'm sure there were quite a few more clones like that at
I mean,
one
the thing
point.
is that they say that they're experts in cloning, but it's like, so is this all that you've cloned, or have you cloned other things? Are you clones?
What other
Like-
armies have you
Yeah.
cloned? Where are they?
Yeah.
What happened to them, and what was the story
Yeah,
behind
no,
that?
it's that's not dumb. It's actually an interesting idea, and I'll say the other thing too. There isn't a lot of humor in Star Wars right now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sometimes I miss that. Like I miss like Yoda acting like a complete fool and like
Yeah.
beating R2 with like a stick when he's clearly a Jedi Master and stuff like that. Yeah, well, I mean, I never really minded Jar Jar at the time. I don't really understand as much hate as he's gotten, but yeah,
That's where I'm getting at. I mean, everything's been so serious. It would be nice to have like a spin-off sitcom that's a little less like light, just something to watch throughout the week.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have a series like that where you're still learning a backstory
Right.
to something else that we haven't seen.
Well,
Well,
the
and
thing-
you guys don't really follow the books as much as we do, and yes, Rise had some dark moments, and really the whole trilogy did, but the books have been getting extremely dark lately.
they're all pretty,
especially with Alphabet Squadron.
yeah.
And Afra was really a breath of fresh air to me because it was just she's quirky,
It
she's
was
funny,
a
she's
lot of
entertaining.
sarcasm.
Yeah, I mean it didn't need to be any longer than it was. It
No.
was more than I needed, but
But no,
we need more comedy.
I actually think you're on the right track, because another thing, it just pops in my head. They're also trying to do a Bad Batch spin-off show as well, animated, and they tried to be funny with them when they were ending Clone Wars, when they brought in their whatever 3-4 episode arc.
Yeah,
but I didn't really
4.
find them funny.
No.
which is odd, because there were some funny moments in Clone Wars, but. Yeah, I don't actually hate that. I think it would be an interesting idea to kind of interject some humor back, because if you want to talk about crapping on humor, Last Jedi, when Poe goes up and he's screwing with Hux, it's like Admiral Hugs. Everybody hated that. Like, well, not everybody. So many people hated that. It's like, do you not realize what I mean, like, where this stuff comes from? All the little jokes that people made at
Yeah.
everybody's expense. Maybe you need to get off a little high horse
Yeah.
there, man.
Well, and if you really dive into the backstory of Hux, you understand why it's so funny to see him try and interact with anyone. I mean,
Old Admiral Hugs.
he's got a lot of issues.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Still one of my favorite characters of the new trilogy, though. Hux is pretty cool in his own way.
Well,
You don't like that, do you? You don't like what they did with Hux.
No, I thought he went out like a
Well,
bitch.
yes, He did.
I mean,
But in the first couple movies, he was much more interesting.
I'm the spy. Get away. Shoot me in the leg. Okay,
Yeah.
funny. And then they just execute him. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, okay, fine. You built that character for nothing. Thanks, JJ.
Well, that's not the first character that they just built up to be amazing and then kill off by the second movie.
There's a lot of that. All right. What?
Did we hear his spinoff or what he would want to?
I don't care what his spinoff is.
It's Revan.
It's Revan.
Oh, okay.
It's always Revan.
That's why we get
Right.
along.
Yeah. Old Republic.
OG
should
purple
happen.
lightsaber, better than Mace.
Well, what's his name? He did one or two of the Marvel that I can never pronounce with like all the T's and the Titakides, and I can't even remember his name.
yeah.
Takiti Wahidi?
Yeah.
Or Taki Wahidi? I
Yes.
can't even say it, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry I pronounced that wrong.
I pronounce it wrong all the time. He has a trilogy that he is going to be responsible for. So I'll be interested to see what they do with him because
Star
if it
Wars
is,
trilogy?
if it is
Okay.
Old Republic, but yeah, I mean that's
Yeah,
the other
but he
thing
did
too.
he did a great job with Thor Ragnarok.
Yes.
So
Okay, that's
Yes.
what it was. Thor.
he was Thor Ragnarok, and that movie was. He also was in it as the one guy that
I never watched it.
you've never seen Ragnarok.
I stopped watching Marvel movies, like standalones. I can't remember. I have watched all the Avengers movies because I was made to at the time. But like, I kind of feel bad because I did want to watch Black Panther and obviously the Chadwick Boseman. He passed 43 years old,
I know.
colon cancer. Nobody knew about it aside from his family.
Yeah.
He just
It's
like all of a sudden
yeah,
he
it's
passed
crazy.
away. And that
honestly,
sucks.
when I woke up and
It's
I actually had a
jarring.
notification on my phone that said
It was
he had passed
shocking.
away. Like it shocked me, and it's
Yeah.
I mean it's sad to. You know, 'cause,
I actually
like,
wasn't
you
that
wanna-
shocked
I
since
honestly,
like Tom Petty passed away. That was shocking.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that was pretty shocking.
Yeah.
But like when you think like down the road, what else he could have blessed
Yeah.
us with?
Well,
Like
we
'cause
could-
he was such
we
a
could have
he was
had
a
some
he was
really
a
cool
great
moments
actor. He
with
really
him. He was
was.
good. Yeah.
He was really fun
Outside
to
of
watch,
Marvel,
yeah.
he really could have done
Yeah,
a lot.
did you ever watch his movie 42 where he was
No.
Jackie Robinson?
No, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
it was
I know
phenomenal. He did
everybody
so
got
good,
movie, yeah.
so good, such a good movie. Yeah,
Well, one thing I do kind of want to touch on is backtracking quite a bit, but when Corey was talking about lightsaber combat and, yes, you were talking at one point, just kind of touching on the training, we have High Republic coming up,
Books.
and I don't know if any of you guys are aware of that at all, if you've been following it. So basically, we're going back about 200 years before.
Which originally was supposed to be
400
like
years,
400
now
years,
3,
and then
now 2,
300
now-
years,
oh,
and
it's
then
50 years
200
before
years,
next.
and then it's when Anakin was born or some crap. So
But we're going about 200 years before the events of Phantom Menace.
gotcha.
And this is basically the Renaissance period, I would say, for the Jedi. They are at
Yeah.
a pinnacle. They're.
Yeah, before
I don't
Anakin,
know how you
destroyed
guys
them
feel.
all.
I don't know how you guys feel about the council around the time of Phantom Menace. David and I are a little critical of them.
Yeah.
They've lost their way at that point. They're mercenaries.
I don't
more
know
than
if they
Jedi,
lost their
truthfully.
way because if you think about it, yeah, they didn't want Anakin trained,
No.
yeah,
but obviously they had a good reason for not training him. If they didn't, 'cause
Well,
they were smart enough to
the
suspect
council-
what could have happened.
The council
And what
also
happened
could have
was
seen what
what
was
happened.
happening with him through his training, and
They saw
the-
too much emotion in
the
him.
hate that was boiling up inside of him. They
Exactly.
could have helped him more.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon truly was the only person who could have helped Anakin, I believe.
I don't.
Obi-Wan
yeah, but what
was
was
not-
I
Qui-Gon
don't think it
doing
would've
creating a
mattered.
clone army?
Well, that wasn't Qui-Gon.
I thought that was him that kind of
That
had
was
that.
Sifo Dyas.
So Sifo Dyas, who was like a friend of
Count Dooku.
Dooku.
Oh, okay.
They explain that in the Dooku audio drama. But anyway, so he commissioned the Clone Force because
He saw visions.
Sifo Dyas had a lot of visions that eventually drove him insane. And
Gotcha.
then Dooku killed
That
him or
makes
had
sense.
him killed.
No, he did kill him.
Okay,
He shot
so-
him down.
But the whole thing is that so he created this clone army because he sort of incorrectly perceived a threat. He perceived a threat that he didn't fully understand.
Gotcha.
So he had this whole thing commissioned, and it wasn't a bad idea, but it was all a smokescreen, and nobody really saw through to the actual problem, which was old Sheev Palpatine coming up in the ranks. But yeah, I mean, Qui-Gon, I don't know how much of an impact he would have honestly had on Anakin. I think Anakin is Anakin. I
think he just had too much emotions in him to be controlled as what. Because I mean, when you're a Jedi, like the Council at that time, you have no emotion. You cannot love you all that.
We'll see. The other thing too, though, he would have lost his mother no matter what.
Yeah,
Because I mean, there's a backstory about Padme's handmaidens trying to go like free her, and they didn't get to her, and then she got married, and then blah blah blah. She got killed by the Sand People. That was going to happen regardless. So there's still that potential turn, and what exactly who could have helped out of that? I don't know. It just all.
Well, yeah, but you also gotta look at it though too. Qui-Gon also defied the council at times as well, because he also seemed competent enough, so to speak, or open-minded enough to understand that there's positives to both sides.
True.
He understood that whatever Anakin was going through, he probably could have been able to help.
Maybe.
'Cause at the end of the third one, technically, Anakin did fulfill the prophecy and bring balance.
Yes.
There was only 2 Jedi and 2 Sith left. So the thing was, at least, though, is Qui-Gon would have more than likely had Anakin's back more so than what the Council did.
Yeah.
Because, Palpatine's telling Anakin, you're worried about your wife. I can teach you this power.
Yeah.
Save everybody, this, that, and the other. And Anakin's just feeling like the Jedi are lying to me. The Council's not telling me this stuff. So he was feeling betrayed by them. Qui-Gon probably would have tried to tell him about that side of the Force and those powers at least. But then again, we'll never know because...
The only reason why...
Damn you, Ma.
The
you, Ma.
the only reason why I'm a little hesitant and a little skeptical is when there's a book by Claudia Gray called Master and Apprentice, which was a really, really good book. And it showcased all the problems that Qui-Gon had with Obi-Wan as a Padawan. And basically, there was a point where the council offered him the position of master, or a position on the council, and he was considering taking it and then dropping Obi-Wan because they had a lot of clashes. They had problems. He couldn't understand Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan couldn't understand him. Now, in the end, obviously, he turns down a position on the council because he knows he can't agree with them. He knows there's stuff that he has grown to see that they don't see, and even that book outlines a lot of the problems with the council. With one of the council members who actually was got pregnant, had the kid, and then brought it back and said, "Oh no, I found this force sensitive child," and he wound up just being a complete piece of garbage. But anyway, but nobody sensed that. Nobody figured that out until she admitted to it. So the whole thing with the only reason I'm skeptical is because Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon had such a contentious relationship. Now, they learn to adjust to each other eventually, but you got to think everybody has their weak point, and his weak point at that point was like, I'll join the council and we'll offload Obi-Wan and it'll be great. Legitimately, those were thoughts that were written. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe, I think if anybody, to your point, I think if anybody could have done it, it would have been Qui-Gon. I don't think anybody else would have been capable.
I think Anakin having learned to follow the will of the Force would have been the biggest turning point for him, instead of just feeling so constricted in this box of the light side where literally everyone there hated him.
Yeah.
Truthfully, they all resented him. Mace Windu made his life hell, along with many others. But to get kind of back on topic, I think the thing that I'm most excited about is to see more of the philosophical side in the High Republic, what the Council's like, what the Jedi are like, because truthfully, we get excited about all these different things, Solo, Mandalore, all that, but end of the day, what's the most interesting thing in Star Wars? It's the Jedi.
Space wizards.
It's always the Jedi. It always will be.
Han
So,
Solo.
and it's something that's always a bit lacking for us. We always want a little bit more of the Jedi side of things. So High Republic is potentially exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, but again, I mean, it's a book. It's a series of books. So will it become movies or series? We don't know. So the distribution of that to the masses isn't necessarily going to be as big.
It's not. I mean, truthfully, even the people in this room, I mean, I don't think we're more book junkies than most people.
Hey.
And I know that you've read quite a few of the books too, but I don't think Tyler and Corey have. It's
I'd like to buy a bunch of them.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to dive back into some more of them, especially the one you were talking about Revan.
Yeah,
I want
that's
to.
a
I
great-
do need to
great
get
book.
more
There's
into those.
so
ones.
many good
I know,
Revan
there's-
books,
Yeah, there's
truthfully.
a bunch of them out there that I do want to get into.
Yeah.
Honestly, it would be interesting to get you together with a couple of my other good friends who have literally shared so much Star Wars stuff with me over my lifetime too. Like they were big influences of Star Wars, but it's the Van Winkle brothers. I'm not sure if you ever met them or not, but
no, but I
those
know
guys,
of them, yeah.
like when you go to their house, they literally have a bookshelf in their main entranceway, and it is nothing but
Star Wars.
books. And I literally back a few years ago, I used to go there and I literally just be like, "Holy shit! There's a book on this. There's a book
Yeah,
on this. There's
yeah.
a book on that. There's
Everything.
a book. What?"
And that's the thing that's cool about Star Wars novelization
And then
is
they
they
also
dive into
had
everything.
what they also had was that they had the big book that had all the different ships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had all the
Yeah.
details of the different ships and all the different little corridors and everything. That was really cool to kind of get into that too.
No
But I
doubt.
think stuff like that would be pretty fun.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I want more Wookiees.
More,
I
more
would love
Wookiees.
more Wookiees.
More
can
Wookiees.
we go? What's their planet again?
Kashyyyk?
Kashyyyk. I'd love to go back down there again in the Old Republic.
Yeah, the only thing about that is, would it be neat? Yeah, but would you want to see an entire movie and sometimes,
Just I can't even do anybody do a Wookiee
that'd be
sound.
great. No, that'd be that. Yeah, I have a friend of mine who, always loved the Ewoks. Right? I mean, because they have
Well, who
movies.
doesn't?
They have movies themselves, and it's like, could you imagine? And this is why the Ewok movies weren't really all that popular. Could you imagine just sitting and watching an Ewok movie? Yeah. Of course, they had kids in there. They had normal kids in there too, so that's kind of your playoff. But now Wookiees are very interesting. Their story's really super sad because they were just all enslaved because they were super strong and used, and
Right.
their planet was full of trees, and they cut down a lot of their trees and just screwed their planet up and so forth. So. Yeah, there's a lot in there, but an entire Wookiee movie, that would be fun.
I just remember playing on original Xbox Star Wars Battlefront.
Tyler, if you're gonna talk, at least talk into a
you
mic.
gotta get a
Jason, could you
mic.
give him a mic?
No, I always remember on Xbox original playing Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah.
Which
And-
is the best Star Wars game.
Yeah,
by
I
far.
just being on
Battlefront 2,
What was the
actually.
planet again? What was the planet again?
Kashyyyk.
Yeah, and playing as the Wookiees fighting off
Yeah,
the clones
yeah.
off the beach.
Well, the
So that was-
bowcaster was literally the best weapon in the game.
Yeah, droids. I'm sorry, not clones.
That actually brings up something. We'll do
Well,
one.
eventually you start doing that.
We'll do one more round, and we'll wrap it up because I know that pretty much everyone in here plays games way more than I do. So favorite Star Wars game and why? We'll go around and we'll wrap it up.
I'll start this one off.
Yep, do it.
No, like Austin said a second ago, the original Xbox Star Wars Battlefront 1 was the best. 2 was good too.
Yeah.
The new Star Wars games, not into them. EA did not do a good job, in my opinion. I mean, graphics.
Yeah.
No, graphics are great, but they destroyed gameplay. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, I played the newer Battlefront, and it could be fun, but it was so grindy, and then it was so microtransactiony in the beginning. I still like to go in and just a heavy gunner, and then die a lot, shoot people, and to me that can be fun because I like nowadays I like games that I don't have to think about all that much.
Yes.
If I can just go in and blast away for an hour or so and then shut it down, I'm cool with that. But no, those original Battlefront games were so good. I know you played a ton of 2, wasn't it? That was insane. So, all right, what do you got?
honestly, if I'm gonna go with like my favorite all time,
Knights of the Old Republic.
yes,
Yep.
the original Knights of the Republic, the first and second one were great. And then even the MMO that they spawned, that the old Republic Online, that is a very, very fun game that I still actually play to this day because it's you can play free to level 50. Just saying, it's fun. You guys need to get computers to get in. But no, right now, like I know you said you trashed the new games, but I honestly love the new Battlefront games because the graphics, like you said, they are spectacular. The gameplay,
is
yes.
fun.
The train, you got those microtransactions. Just ignore that shit. You don't have to do that to get into the games and play. I mean, yeah, the first one was really bad, but this second one, it is fun, especially when you do your hero battles. When you do 8 versus 8 hero battles, dude, running around as one of the Jedis fighting against the Sith.
pretty cool.
I could sit there and do that for hours. I don't know about you guys, but I could wield Rey and just whack and slash around. But seriously, like Fallen Order, this Star Wars Fallen Order, Jedi Fallen Order, is actually a very, very fun game. The actual like saber light play or gameplay is really, really fun. But then again, it goes back to that. It's kind of like fencing, in a way.
True.
But it is really, really fun, pretty authentic, and I really did enjoy that story a little bit. I just wish it lasted a little longer.
The story was really good. I never got like through all the gameplay, but like I've watched the story and watched gameplay and so forth. So I mean, obviously I know what happened, but it was a really interesting story. It's good to get to know their new character too.
Yeah, it's the only thing that really disappointed me about that game is when the final battle, when you finally finish it. I'm sorry if I'm spoiling this for you.
No, I know.
But you literally fight Vader for like 2 seconds and then it's done.
Yep.
And then it's the end of the game. And I'm like, why didn't I get to fight Vader?
Yeah.
Well, you're a Padawan. He's going to kill you.
Even though I was going to get my ass kicked, I still wanted to fight Vader.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I was looking forward to that fight the whole time, but I never got to. And it was like, disappointing.
True.
But it was still a great game.
True.
Yeah, that's for me. Jedi Fallen Order is the one that I've played, and I really like it. You know, as was said earlier, gameplay, graphics, the story was awesome. It was a bit disappointing at the end when you destroy those Force-sensitive names, but I also understand why it happened. Yeah. But other than that, I just wish that the story mode was a tad bit longer, because 10,
maybe another
15,
world or two.
Yeah, give us another planet or two to go to.
Well, and then like you guys aren't terribly much younger than I am. So the thing is like when I was a kid, and like really I think the golden era of some of this was like PS2, when you had stuff like Metal Gear, and these
tiny tanks.
Yeah, whatever, dude, in your freaking tank game. But
you played that more than me.
I didn't play it that much. Don't sell lies on here. But no, you had a golden age of like single player, story driven RP type games that went on and on. And I think it's just the age group that they shoot for, the attention span's just not there anymore.
True.
So whereas yes, the story probably should have been longer, could have been longer, maybe some more difficulty or something like that in certain aspects, but like it's just panning to the current generation. But the greatest thing about Jedi Fallen Order is that I hope they're seeing that and it's sold well. And it got reviewed well.
Yeah.
Make more of that.
Well, they've already announced that 2 is on the way.
They are going to make another one, I believe.
I mean, but just make more of that and give me more stories.
Yeah. But when you get into it, the reason why I picked the Old Republic as one of my favorite video games, because I remember the first time playing Star Wars: The Old Republic. It was the first, it was literally one of my first RPGs outside of the Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, true.
And
it
was so well done, and it was so well
so
in
much
depth.
to do.
The first time you go down and you fight the Rancor was amazing.
Yeah.
The first moment that you find out that you are, in fact, Darth
the revelations are
you literally
insane.
you're like, are you kidding me?
And also the
I have
the
to ask
Oracle
you,
ladies' visions of the future.
Yes, crazy.
They
crazy
actually
stuff.
made some of that canon because of that game.
Yes. And but then you have, but the whole thing, like, what I want to ask you is, like, the first time you ever played it, did you go back to the dark side or did you stay to the light side? Yeah. because it was the first time we were able to make
Yeah.
that choice in the game.
I mean,
we got to see the Jedi Council.
I typically
and them,
leaned
and
on
the Sith
light
side of
side with
everything.
games. First playthrough, I was always the good guy.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Same.
playing it the
Yeah.
second time through and choosing to be bad, it was actually more entertaining because I knew who I was.
I actually did go back to Sith my first time, and then you had to fight Karth and them, and
Yeah.
it was like, I don't know if I wanted to do that,
Yeah.
but because
Yeah.
you get this like feeling of like, I don't know if that was the right choice.
I
But,
mean,
it
that's
was
just-
entertaining.
Yeah.
That's good game design.
But that's
Yeah.
BioWare for you.
Yeah.
You never know if you really truly made the right,
Right.
choice.
Yeah. And then that was
mean, look at
that
Mass
was the
Effect.
golden era of BioWare too.
Yeah.
You know,
then,
I
man.
will say I'm just a tad bit disappointed that nobody like was really into the pod racing game or like Empire at War. Or, I did love Empire at War though.
Yeah, it was
But
all right.
no, it was just a top-down strategy
Yeah.
game. But it was. I mean, you get me and like 3 other buddies. We would like separate into 2 rooms and we'd like do 2-on-2
LAN parties.
co-op.
We used to do the same thing
Yes,
with
LAN
Age of
parties.
Empires, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was the same thing.
So I mean,
I always played Empire Earth, is why I never really
Yeah.
got into the Star Wars
Yeah,
one
yeah.
because I was into the more.
no pod racing. They just re-released it on Switch.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I know, right? Pod
You know,
racing's on Switch.
One game I always wanted to get into that I never could.
They just got Jedi Order 2, or
Yep.
Jedi Knight 2
Yep.
or something on there.
Commandos.
$10.
Command, yeah.
Could never find that game anywhere used. Couldn't find it.
Commandos, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever played it. And
It's supposed to be one of the
don't
best
think I
Star
ever
Wars
did either,
games
really.
wasn't
by
it a
ratings.
first-person shooter?
It was.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, you were a squad leader
Yeah,
of a
of the-
clone troop. So for me, I mean, there's
Unleashed.
so many to choose
Oh,
from.
damn!
So
How
many
did
to choose
It
from.
was Unleashed.
How did I forget about
Force
Unleashed?
Unleashed 1 and 2.
Those were
yeah.
the great.
They were
great.
Very
they
good.
were so fun.
Very good games. You know what? One thing.
Episode 3. That was the one that
You knew what
yeah.
I was going to say. The tie-in movie game for Revenge of the Sith actually was pretty damn good.
Yeah, he played that a lot.
And it was about a 16-part game, but at the end of it, there's actually an alternative ending where you play as Anakin in the fight of Mustafar instead of Obi-Wan. You win. You kill Obi-Wan. Keep
That's
your
weird.
limbs.
Yep.
You go to the Emperor and you stab him with the new lightsaber he gives you, which is bullcrap because you can't just give me my saber. I have to earn it.
Hey, it doesn't matter.
But no, oh God. He's got the lightsaber out
I
now.
got my lightsaber.
But no, you literally stab Palpatine, and there's like 20 clone troopers around you. You turn to face them and said, "There's finally peace. I am the Emperor now."
Huh.
Yeah.
That's wicked.
But so that was really good. Battlefront 1 and 2 were just great games. I mean, they were the pinnacle of Star Wars shooters. Jedi Academy was also a really good RPG. Not quite as in depth, but you had a lot more choices with lightsaber fight.
I really just
styles.
wish Old Republic 2 didn't have so many bugs.
Yeah.
I wish they wouldn't have rushed production on that game, and it would have been a masterpiece.
But getting into the newer games, I mean, Jedi Fallen Order is a difficult freaking game. If you go
It
into
is. Some of
higher
them- yeah,
difficulties,
some of that
you're
stuff is
talking
hard to do.
Dark Souls and Bloodborne level
They've
difficulties,
actually
which
added-
I appreciated a lot.
They added the new mode now. It's where you can
Yes.
go in and actually select who you want to fight, and
Yeah.
then you can actually have them
You can
fight
have an
against each
arena
other,
of like
or you
30
can go in and fight.
clone trooper, or I'm sorry, 30
You can actually get your fight
stormtroopers
with
versus
Vader, which
rebels
was
and-
awesome.
yeah.
But you can't. I don't think you can kill him.
I don't think you can.
I don't. I
He's
think you're
immortal.
just. I think
Vader
you're just
immortal.
deadlocked in a battle for eternity with
Well,
Vader.
and that's the other thing. I mean, you have other new games. You have the VR Vader Immortal. Squadrons will be coming out. Lego Star Wars.
I'm more excited for that than I want to admit. I'm
I
sorry.
could not get into the Lego Star
I played
Wars.
a lot of
cannot
the Lego
do it.
Star
Yeah.
Wars games growing up, and I'm not ashamed of it at
Couldn't.
all. They were
See,
cool.
I remember the original Star Wars Phantom Menace game that you could play 2 players. And you ran around as Obi-Wan and
PlayStation
Qui-Gon
1
on the
Phantom
PlayStation
Menace
1.
game was hard as
You
hell,
remember
but
that
it
game?
was fun. It was fun.
so hard.
Yeah.
but
I
it
never
was
beat it.
Super. Yeah,
I never beat that
either.
game.
Never beat it.
There
Me
are
and my
so
brother
many.
played.
There are so many
all the way
PlayStation 1
through that
games
and
that
just
I
couldn't do
never
it.
beat because
Yeah.
they're way more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
there's
all
nothing-
video
there-
games. They almost hold your hand through video games
Yeah.
anymore. But
I mean,
it's very true.
there's nothing more terrifying than being Obi-Wan in the swamps of Naboo, and you've got like 5 blaster bolts left. Your lightsaber's gone. It's like, this is it.
this is it.
I'm reloading my save from 3 hours ago. This isn't gonna happen. But
Well,
I really do have one more question, though. What does everyone here think of Squadrons? We've talked about it a little bit, but now that we have a bigger audience, Tyler just disappeared, but that's fine.
Honestly, I don't know if I can get into it.
What do we think of Squadrons? Because the graphics look stellar.
I don't
really
think that they do. I think they look. I think they look behind.
I think
so?
it'll look great on my 4K on my Xbox One X.
I
but
thought they looked pretty good for.
But
when's
I can't
the
get
last
into
time
flying
we've had a
games.
space combat game, though?
I'm just saying it's like there's. I felt like at least from some of the stuff that I watched, it almost looked a bit cartoony. Like there was a clear art style away from being realistic,
I get that.
and it just it's fine, but that's a game that I think you could only, or at least I could only appreciate if I had a VR setup.
I feel the same way because I don't think I could just sit on my TV and fly around in space without getting dizzy or having some kind of like episode.
My biggest concerns with that game is the controls.
That's what I'm saying.
How
like,
are we really gonna? I mean,
Stick, man.
diverting power and actually controlling your starfighter
Immersion.
in different ways. How much are we going to be immersed into this game? How much control are we going to have?
Yeah.
And how much is? I mean, is this just going to be another dime a dozen multiplayer game, 5-on-5?
It does have-
with
it does have a story
nothing
mode.
going for it, or is this going to be something new? Because we don't have a lot of pilot games anymore.
I mean,
Yeah, but if you
want
want to play a
about it.
flying game, just go get Flight Simulator.
Oh yeah, there's a new
Yeah,
there's a
you
new
can
flight
do
sim
that.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it may be a nice change of pace from the same 5 games that keep coming out. You know, you're always getting. All games seem to be blending in now that are coming out, and they're coming out with some.
Let
that
us
are,
remind you, we forged this fool into video games.
Yeah, that's.
Everything on Star Wars Endgame.
Taught them all.
I think it'll just be nice to have a new something different. But like was said earlier, how much control are you really going to have?
Right.
How are you even going to be able to control, all that stuff? So, I mean,
But I mean, if you could squad up with something of your friends and so forth, and just fly around, do random missions, I mean that could be cool.
yeah,
Yeah, that would be cool.
with
Yeah.
strangers,
Definitely with
it's not
strangers.
fun,
it
but-
would not be fun because
But
if
with
you're just flying
friends-
around with random people, like it's going to be chaotic.
It would be like
Oh, yeah.
Call of Duty. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
Call of Duty with random
Yeah, true.
people off doing their own thing. That's just what it'll be. But if you're with friends, you can at least, depending on who your friends are, strategize.
If I can't get you guys to get on the Old Republic, how are we all going to get on Squadrons together? Not really, dude. The Old Republic is amazing.
You just get put in a ship and you're good to go. Old Republic, you actually got to grind and level up and whatnot.
Isn't that the point of a video game?
Not always.
Is to build something?
Tyler, did you want any input on Squadrons? Have you even watched the trailers? No. Man, you're a terrible Star Wars fan.
Tyler said no.
You say you're a Star Wars fan, but it
more than most, but I am a Halo fan at heart. So
There's nothing wrong with me.
what Tyler reminds me of is the meme of 90s kids. You're born in 1999, Mace Windu. You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
Damn, you are young.
Crazy. Yeah. Well, anything else you wanted to pass around, or
Oh, we could talk for hours, but nothing else comes to mind for me. Anything for you guys?
I just want a Revan movie, please.
Yes.
movie?
I think we all want that. Corey, do you even know who Revan is?
Camino sitcom.
To a degree. I don't know.
To a degree.
So major takeaways: Camino sitcom, Revan movie, more
Ewoks
more
and
more more,
Wookiees.
more yeah, a Wookiee,
Wookiee movie.
standalone movie with
More Ewoks.
with no subtitles and no English dub over.
I can't do it. More Chewie.
I need more Chewie.
A remake of the holiday special.
I want everybody
watch
here
that.
to
I
watch
don't
Solo, but watch it with the face swap of Harrison
I
Ford.
saw that.
Oh,
watch
my
the
God.
watch the whole movie
is
with
pretty
Harrison
wild.
Ford instead of the other guy. It is awesome.
It
Probably
awesome.
would be.
yeah.
See Chewie's parents.
Chewie's parents.
Well, holiday special. You at least got Chewie's wife and Itchy,
Itchy.
who may or may not have been doing some questionable stuff in the course of that movie.
Why is he itchy?
Who knows? So anyway, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure to follow all the social at TC Plan Podcast. You can send us an email if you'd like to, just give us some feedback on the episode, any of your thoughts, tcplanpodcast@gmail.com, and we will catch you next week.
And as always, may the Force be with you.